Hello, welcome back to Where Are All My Friends, the YouTube video podcast experience. I don't know what I'm saying. This week is with Gavin Chops, who is the drummer for Chelsea Cutler, an artist that I am a huge fan of, but also a co-founder, co-owner of Pack Records and Baron Owl Management. And I think it's a very rare breed of people that do both the musician side and the business and industry side of music and balance it well. And I had a feeling that he did, but I really didn't know too well what his story was. And this conversation is about exactly that. So it was really insightful, really inspiring. I think you'll enjoy it if you're interested in things like that. Outside of that, just YouTuber Andrew reminding you to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you like the podcast in general. If you don't like it, leave me a really hateful comment and tell me everything that I'm doing wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I really am trying to grow the YouTube, and little things like that are massively helpful. So if you've been enjoying the podcast, or even if you just found it and you're down to do me that favor, it would mean a lot. All right, enjoy the video. We are back again. Where Are All My Friends podcast. And this week we are with Gavin Pomerantz, or Gavin Chops. And I'm excited for this conversation. I really, really am. You're a musician, but you also have an insanely good eye for detail on the business and industry side of it. I know you have some other projects like a label and a management company, and that's really why I wanted to have this conversation. I think it's really interesting to see somebody who does both of those so well. So without saying too much of you, I will let you introduce yourself and let listeners know who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. It's really special to be able to do both things, and it took a long time to get there. I'm Gavin Chops. Gavin Pomerantz is my real name. I've done many things and I've lived many lives, but right now I sit at the intersection of business and music. I'm the co-founder of a management company called Baron Owl, and more recently, a co-founder of a label called Pack Records. And as Andrew said, I am the drummer for Chelsea Cutler.
Yes, which is really cool. One thing that I've loved so much about doing this podcast is using the internet to connect with people. Like when I started this, I figured, cool, I have 10 or 20 friends that I can talk to. Like we can see if this is a fun concept. And since then, I've ended up talking to so many people that I don't know, but there's kind of a nod to just like you see what somebody's doing through Instagram and a couple other profiles, and it's like, oh, cool, they probably get it. And I've had such crazy cool conversations with people that I wouldn't have been able to talk to otherwise. And I really felt that with you. Like I saw enough of, I don't know, like I saw that you drum for Chelsea Cutler, and I'm a huge fan of her work, especially her last album, just like so incredible. So I figured if you worked with her, that said a lot. But then as I looked more at your other projects, I was like, damn, he really gets it. Like there's an attention to detail and everything with Baron Owl and Pack Records that was just like a level of, I don't know, it just felt like there was real care. So that's a story that I don't know anything past that. And I wanted to leave it there. But I love to hear about where that came from, because I don't think that that happens on accident, right?
No, it was a lot of years of work. It's a lot of years of work, not only on business, but also on myself, preparing myself for a life that I wasn't really sure how to get to or how to do. Like I always wanted, I'm literally like, this is my dream. My dream started about like 2 years ago now, of being able to do both music and business. I've always, my whole life, have loved drumming. Obviously, I'm a drummer, but I play piano. Like I love music. I started as a musician, but I also love listening to other artists, and I also love helping other artists. I was always trying to come up with ideas with like my friends in high school of how to help them with their music, and it was always a part of who I was, to help artists and also be an artist. So I was like, that's what I want my life to be, and I always knew that. But obviously, like my parents, they were like, you got to go to college, you got to get like a degree. And
Yeah.
so I went to college and I got my business degree, and I forgot
Cool.
about music for a while. And not necessarily forgot. I was still like DJing. I DJed, and I went to school in New York City at Fordham University, and I was DJing all the time and had internships in the music industry.
Yeah.
But I was kind of on a path to get like a finance gig.
Really?
And yeah, really. And I was like, after I graduated college, like I was applying to finance gigs, and I was, uh, not really happy, wearing the monkey suit, like wearing a suit, going to these job interviews, trying to like, I would go to these like group interviews and have to compete with people. And I was like, this is just so not who I am at my core. Like, I want to be in music. I want to do music. So I quit, trying to do that. And I was like, I'm sorry, mom. I'm sorry, dad. Like, I want to be in music. And that right then and there, I decided like I was going to do music no matter what it took. And I started playing drums in bands. I was living in Connecticut at the time at my parents' place. I played in bands in Connecticut, a bunch of different rock bands because I come from more of like a rock
Oh, do
background. So
you?
yeah, yeah. So I love rock and punk music. It has a huge influence on my life, and it's really cool right now. Seeing so much rock and punk influence in so much popular music today, and hearing a lot of things that I was into. Like Blink-182, I think is having a huge influence on the music scene right now. So it's just
Yeah.
like really cool to kind of
Okay,
see
so
that.
you
Like,
were like kind of in that same like pop punk Warped Tour Blink 182 kind of circle?
oh yeah, I loved that kind of music. I was playing with bands like that. I was also playing with bands that were making kind of like harder rock music. Because
Okay.
I just love, I'm I have a lot of energy. A lot of people might not think that because in day to day life, I'm very like chill and relaxed, and a lot of people think I'm like. And in high school, I used to get in trouble because my teacher would think I was stoned all the time. But I rarely smoke weed that much. I'm rarely
You're
like
just like you just
not.
have like that chill demeanor.
Yeah, so I'm mostly just relaxed all the time. But when I'm doing something I love, whether it's drums, whether it's a passion project, or with my business, Pack Records, I'm wired. I'm in it. I give my 100%, and so that's why I like hard rock music because I was able to really bring it. I was really able to bring some
Yeah.
wild
And you
energy,
were always
and
playing drums? Or
yeah, I
yeah,
always
yeah.
play drums.
Cuz you wait,
Drums are the most fun
yeah.
instrument. Sorry, what?
You said early I kind of messed that up. You said that you had learned piano, right?
Yeah, piano was my first instrument. Actually broke my arm, and I went to my piano lesson, and I couldn't move my fingers on my right hand. And my piano teacher put a drumstick in my cast and was like, "We're doing drums today," and
No
that was
way.
kind of it. Yeah, and that set me off to be a drummer. Obviously, like
Damn.
I have my piano, my little keyboard right here. I still like play along. And unfortunately, I just moved to this new apartment and I don't have my drum set here because it's like a very residential building. I used to live in like a artist, like kind of commune building. I had my drum set and it didn't really matter when I played. So that's like something I'm figuring out is where can I put my drum set? I miss playing drums, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I always feel for drummers on that. Like a buddy of mine out here in LA has the same problem where he's like, I can't play in this apartment. So he has to like drive to a studio space anytime he just feels like playing drums, where any other instrument you play is just like, yeah, cool, I'll just plug it in my bedroom. So I feel for you.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's really cool. So there's a couple things there that I'm interested in.
okay.
You almost walked away from music. Like you learned at an early age, I take it, with like piano and drums.
Yeah, I was like, I started piano. I was like 7. I started drums at like 10.
Okay, yeah. So like that was like a very young thing that you gravitated towards. But then you have that moment of going to school, going to college, thinking you're going to be in finance. So I just think that that crossroads is so important in so many people's careers and I like talking about that. So had you given up? Like had you done like the band thing and it just didn't click and you were like, "All right, like this was my time and it didn't really go, so now it's time for school." Was it your parents leaning on you? Like what did that look like?
I mean, I don't want to blame my parents. Like my parents are the best people in my life. They support me in everything I do, and they've been there for me. But they both come from they're both homeopathic doctors.
Mm,
And what they know is like a specific route gets you a safe and comfortable life,
yes.
and they wanted me to follow along that path and be safe and have health care and a salary and be able to do the things I want to do and have pure financial freedom. And like I respect that, and I respect their decision to push me in that direction of going to school.
Mhm.
But but that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in music. I always wanted to be a rock star. Ever since I was a little kid, like playing drums on stages was something I always wanted to do. At summer camp, I'd play in bands and play for the kids. Like that was my favorite thing. I always would DJ. Anytime I had a chance to perform and like kind of live that rock star persona for a little bit, like it was my pride and joy. I felt truly myself.
Yeah.
So I guess the turning point really for me to commit to music fully was just kind of being a little stubborn, being really stubborn about it, and knowing myself and kind of disregarding what my parents thought. Even what my friends thought. I want to do this. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to figure this out no matter how long it takes.
Hmm. So then you had like that. I just that had to be hard at that spot of like graduating college and then being like, okay, nah, not that. Like, what was your first move towards that? Like, did you have something to go do instantly, or like, what were you? How do you make that pivot?
Well, I tried starting a record label out of my parents' basement. That was the first thing I tried to do.
Hmm.
I set up like a little like recording booth with like some old mattresses, and I would have like artists come over and I would produce a little bit, and one of my friends would produce with me. And we tried like starting a record label, but I had no idea what I was doing. Literally no idea.
You just
So
went for it.
yeah, I had no connections. I had nothing. So nothing really happened, but I started to learn like a bit of work ethic and what it took. And I started developing habits that have helped me, today, of just like seeing little incremental, changes, over time, and knowing that the more that I put into it, the more I'm going to learn. And maybe what I'm doing right now, this record label is not going to be what it is, but I'm learning stuff right now that I'm going to take with me.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been really important along my journey now, is learning from every moment, everything I do. Like even, just to jump forward a little bit, I was working, I've been before I started like drumming with Chelsea and before the record label, like this, it was only like 2 years ago, really. I was working at restaurants, I was a bike messenger, like delivering food. I was doing all kinds of jobs just to kind of get by while I was trying to make my dreams come true.
Yeah.
And it's that tireless work ethic, the stubbornness of not stopping. I think that I started learning at that point in my life when I was starting the record label in my parents' basement.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I'm glad you said that because I feel such a similar way. Like the amount of BS and behind the scenes kind of grinding that you have to do before it gets to anywhere where you're like, oh my God, it's happening. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And you can make it happen if you really care because you're not going to stop. Like you can't. But that's a really interesting spot to be in. So I'm glad that you share that. I'm glad that you're like, yeah, I was grinding it out. I was doing anything I had to do. So what
Mhm.
age were you? Uh, how old are you? I don't even know how old you are.
I'm 28 years old now.
Okay, cool. So like around 26 is when things started clicking.
Yeah, like 26, like a couple months after I turned 26, when the kind of the magic switch happened. I don't know what, it was just like years of work just led to this point. Everything just started changing,
Yeah.
like everything. It felt really great.
Damn. So what's that gap? You finish college, you're applying for jobs. You had like some real years of just grinding, doing whatever, parents' basement, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to Brooklyn eventually. Dude, like I've lived like 9 lives in the past couple years. Like after I ended up getting a job at Beatport, which is
Oh,
like a electronic distributor. They mostly service to DJs, and they're a very well-renowned distributor of electronic music.
I remember
And
that
I was
name because they sponsored a Warp Tour stage one year.
Really? I did not know
Super
that.
random. Like you wouldn't think that fit, but there was like a year where Warped Tour was like, we're gonna have DJs, and it was the Beatport stage. So that's super funny. I've never like outside of that, I'm like, wow, that's weird. I heard that name again.
Yeah, man. It was actually like I loved that job. I was artist relations, and I was hired on to kind of usher in all the new genres of electronic music that were happening, like future bass, future house, more slower versions of like electronic music, because Beatport, more known for like techno and other genres like that, they kind of missed the gap of like trap and future
Mm,
bass and all this stuff because they thought it was just fads.
yeah.
And so I was kind of hired on as this young kid to bring in, this new music. So that was like that job. Like my old boss, Liz Miller, she's now like the head of music partnerships at Facebook. She really got me into the music industry, like helped me break that invisible wall. And I met a lot of like amazing people working there, and I started like a lot of like major connections that I made over the years,
That
like
was
at
a
that
big
job.
piece for you.
Yeah, I only worked there for a year though. The company went under because the parent company SFX went out of business, and then I was just like on my own. And I was like, I kind of wanted to go on my own, and I was starting to play around with management, and this really kind of kicked my ass into gear. And I started managing some of my friends and kind of getting experience there. But then this was the point where I was really grinding because I was paying rent. I was living in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Um, I like didn't have a real job anymore, and I had to figure out any way I could to make money, and I was doing all kinds of odd jobs. And this went on from the time I was like, 24. I guess it was 3 years of just doing whatever it took. I moved to Australia at one point. I lived there
Holy
for
crap.
little bit. Yeah, man. I started an events company, trying to raise money for small companies that were making products that help the environment. Um, I've done like all kinds of crazy entrepreneurial shit just to get to where I am today.
That's a spot that I'm always fascinated by because I think we all have to go through that to some degree if we're chasing something outside of like the typical safer career 9 to 5 path. And
Yeah.
it's so grindy and like I just feel it, right? Like whatever you can figure out, like however you can make a couple bucks, not even like a sketchy way, but it's just like how am I going to pay rent? What can I do? What skills do I have? Who do I know? What can I put together? And you kind of have an inclination of where you want to go. You have like a direction on a compass and you're like I'm heading this way. But like what gets you there, you don't really know and I don't know. It's a grind, but I think a lot of this podcast is about that because I think we all feel that and there's so much that goes into everyone's story before they get to that spot where it's like, "Oh shit, it worked. Cool, we're good." And I think
Yeah.
that's a good reminder to be like, "Yo, it doesn't just click." Like there's so much instant gratification and so much of like I'm even the victim of it. Like you see Instagram, you see all these things and you're like, "Must be nice." It's like, "Well, you don't know what they did leading up to any of that."
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's not a straight path. There is no straight path, especially for a route like this. If you want an entrepreneurial path, if you want a different life, if you don't want the classic 9 to 5 and have that safety for the rest of your life and you want to do something on your own, it's not straight. And like I still feel like at this point in my life, I'm not at that spot where it's even fully clicked yet. I feel like I just am hitting that point
Yeah.
right now where it's just starting to click, and all these things are all these doors are opening for me. But it really comes down to the people that actually do things. There's
Mm,
a lot of people that talk about things. There's a lot of people that talk about doing things, that have an idea, that have goals. But goals are almost meaningless to me because winners and losers have goals. It's the processes that you have in your life, the systems that you build in your life. Falling in love with the everyday grind of it is what's going to get you there. Because what happens when you get to a goal, like, or what happens if you have an idea of a goal? Nothing. It's like you got to like have these systems in place. You got to build out these habit structures that are going to get you to success, to your goals and beyond.
yeah.
Because another thing is goals goals are momentary. They only last for that 1 second, then you want more. So like you got to fall in love with what you're doing your day to day, because the goal is going to come and go, but what you do every day is going to be the same. So I love the grind that I do every day. I love like the work that I have to do every day. Even when I was so broke and, just, making money just to pay my rent and eat a bowl of rice, like even like that, I was happy because I was doing what I loved.
Yeah.
And like it was the burden I was willing to bear, and I'm always willing to bear.
Bro, it's I I get like too fired up about that, and I know that those are cliches, but I feel it. I really, really feel it, and I don't know. I think that that's such an important part, and you're so right. You said that so well. So yes, I agree. I guess that's. I'll leave it there. I agree. Well said. Talk to me about your current life though. So you did a lot of grinding, a lot of figuring out. Interested in this current life of yours, of what it's like to be Chelsea Cutler's touring drummer when coronavirus is not a thing, and what led you to having these super well defined companies. What's this look like?
Drumming for Chelsea, obviously, we're not doing a lot of touring right now. We've done a couple of drive-in shows, which have been really fun, but not as they're fun. I love being on stage regardless, but playing in front of crowds of people is just one of the most unbelievable feelings ever.
Yeah.
And but how I balance, doing that and running businesses is it's taken a lot of time, looking at my day to day, like what I do, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed and where I fit everything in. And for example, when I'm on tour, you know, life can get a bit different because tour life is you're like living on the edge of reality almost, because you don't have a normal structure of life. You can do kind of whatever you want as long as you're at the shows, and you don't know what day it is. There's no such thing as weekends or weekdays. You're in different cities all the time. So you're kind of like looking in on the world. It's a really interesting position to be in because your normal day-to-day life doesn't matter. So I've done a lot of different things to kind of structure, and different tours I've done different things. One time I said, all right, there's like 50 days in this tour. Just today's day one, and when I end is day 50, and no more weekdays or weekends. It's just 50 days, and
Yep.
I try and figure out like what I have to do in those 50 days for like my company as well, and
Cool.
that's something that's helped me. So it's just like it gives me a opportunity to kind of live outside of the structural norms of society, which have been really interesting, but also really hard to kind of like come back to normal life after that. But
Yeah. No, I feel you. And it's actually like it's something that I miss. Like the days of touring for me, like you said that so well. And the structure that you do get out of blocking things up of like this is 50 days. You have then a goal that you set within that, or then you're going to be home for 2 months, something like that, and then you're going to be back out. So then it's like, okay, while I'm home, I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to fully build this. I'm going to fully get this done, whatever. And it almost makes you appreciate and utilize your time better because it doesn't just become, oh, I'll do it over the weekend, I'll do it next week, whatever. It's like these finite blocks. And it's a really interesting, completely out of the norm uh, structure, but it ends up working for certain people. It seems like you've really utilized that.
yeah, I think I owe a lot of it to, this, like I was like this crazy life I lived before all this. It was like I was preparing for a tour life because I was on my own schedule all the time. If I wanted to make something happen within, Bear and Owl at the time, Pack Records more recently, it was up to me and my partners to do so.
Yeah.
And so between all the odd jobs I had and, playing in different bands and, starting these companies up, I had to block my own time. I had to figure out how to structure my time every day so I can accomplish all my goals.
Yeah.
And it took a really long time to figure that out. And a lot of failure, a lot of not doing it right. But eventually, I have kind of a system, still always evolving, always changing, is because nothing is forever. new things get thrown into your life, that you have to figure out how to add in. So I'm kind of like obsessed with habits and structuring of the day. It's kind of something I really obsess over. I have like diagrams and graphs of like all the things that I like to do within a day and how do I fit it in. If you can't see, but on the wall I'm looking at right now, it literally has like all of the things I like to do, and I make X's every single day. So I know I done it, and then I get to see at the end of the week, like what I did and what I didn't do and why I didn't do them. But on tour, I'd wake up. I have to figure out my own schedule, so I have to wake up early, and there's no sound check till like the afternoon. So from the morning to the afternoon, I work. I do my label stuff. I have my phone calls. I talk to my management clients. I talk to my partners. I fit in everything with my team, and everything has to be really transparent. My communication has to be on point because with the moments that I'm in sound check or on stage, I don't have a phone. I'm not talking to anyone else because I'm very in it in the moment there. Everything's intentional for me. I
Yeah.
want to give everything I'm doing my 100%. So, the daytime is very open and it's very stress like free in that way being on tour because you don't have anywhere you really have to be until sound check.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how I'm able to do it.
You strike me as the type of person that's probably read The One Thing in Atomic Habits. I don't know.
I love Atomic Habits, man. That's
Yeah.
like my Bible.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So like what are some things you time block? That's interesting. And I haven't really talked to anybody specifically about that. I'd be curious to hear. So like how do you break things down in hours? Do you break things down in projects? Because I would imagine that is a challenge wearing different hats of like you have management side of you have label side of you have musician side of you. What's that look like?
So my mornings are usually focused more for me. I'm early riser, always have been. My runs in like my family. I think everyone's like my whole life. Everyone was always up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. And I didn't realize it was weird until like I was like living with other people and no one was like waking up. I was like, where is everyone?
Yeah,
So
bro, that's weird. You just do that?
yeah, I just do that. I always am just up, even if I'm like real, if I go out late at night, I'll wake up still really early
Mhm.
in the morning. It's just like almost like a FOMO thing.
Ah.
But, I focus on myself in the mornings, and then the management and label stuff are very, it's almost, I look at it as one thing. I
Mm.
look at it as one thing because the way I work with artists, I have three other partners. We all have specific roles, even though we all work together all the time. I'm more focused on the A&R, working with the artists on the music, working on finding them collaborators, remixers, really hands-on with the artist,
Yeah.
and also on like big picture creative. So I come up with a lot of like the creative ideas and work with the artist on creative. So that's what I do at the label and in management. Obviously, I'll do some more administrative tasks every now and then, but those are my main focuses.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have to switch from management to label because I just care about these artists. So whether management or label, I treat them the same way. They don't
Mhm.
get treated any differently. So I don't really. So let me backtrack a little bit. So I focus on myself in the morning, and then I look at my responsibilities. I have like a list of things that I write every night for the next day. I look at what I have to do, and then I listen to music for like 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Um, because A&R is like my primary focus for label. I'm trying to find these cool, amazing artists. There's so many artists, and it's so easy to put your music out these days that there's so much being put out, and I follow like a million playlists. So I listen to music for about 2 to 3 hours, and then I'll hit up a bunch of new artists just to talk to them. And that's one of my favorite things is getting to talk to all these artists around the world and hearing their stories and where they come from, why they make music, where they get their inspiration from. It's so interesting because everyone is different. And so after that, I then start doing more task-based things, whether it's for the label or for my management clients. There's really, like I said, it's all one thing. And then, yeah, that's pretty much how I structure my day. And
Nice.
then at the end of my day, I'll kind of, I'll go hang out with my girlfriend or go practice the drums
Yeah,
or
like
read a
give
book.
yourself some time in the evening to kind of wind down and have some mental sanity and take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
But
like
it took
that.
a long time to get to that point. A lot of the time, before I figured this out, it was just 24/7. Just on. Just
Yeah.
working, just grinding. And I think that's important for pieces of your career to be in that mode as well, to just be working 24/7. But I also think it's really healthy to take a step back, do different things, have downtime, because the more at peace you are with yourself, and the more like you feel good about what you're doing with yourself outside of work, the better you're going to perform,
Yeah.
with what you want to do.
I think giving yourself some time to get away from things can also help get fresh new ideas. Like if you're
Oh
always
yeah.
forcing yourself constant this, hammering away at it, it becomes routine and you get very good at that routine. But then in a creative field like music, routine is great to a degree, but then you forget to sometimes create or innovate or come up with new ideas. And then it's like, well, what's the point? So I think that time and that perspective is really important.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. I think, we are a creation. We're creation just as humans, and it's our job to create. And in order to create, we need to live. And if we're too routine, if we're too pragmatic about everything, you aren't really living anymore. You're kind of more robotic. So I think there's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
You know, everything I'm saying right now, these structures, they're definitely more like guidelines. Like, these are what I stick to, but I'm not like so rigid with it. Like, my life is always, my everyday is different. I'm always changing. But these are my guidelines. These are things that I know, if I'm feeling like I don't know what to do with my time right now, I have I have these fallbacks that I can go to and just continue being productive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. I think finding your own structure, I think for anybody, it's important to take a second to analyze your day and kind of at least try some kind of structure. I know I do something similar where I mean, I'll typically go 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. being like full business. That's emails, that's uh podcast production, that's calls, that's like all of like the call it like grindy work that pays the bills. And then 3 o'clock, like give myself like enough time to go for a walk, get fresh air. It gets dark at like 2 p.m. now. So if you're lucky, you like see sunlight, make food, whatever. And then I'll kind of like shift gears into creative mode. It's like if I have a podcast to record, I'll get on, I'll record the podcast, do that, and then take a second, maybe make dinner, whatever. And then like in the evenings, it's editing, grinding that, like kind of doing that side of it. And then doing my kind of A&R scouting. Like I like to do that part in the evenings where I look for new
Mhm.
people to hit up, whatever. But finding that any kind of schedule like that, I think is important.
It's so important. It's really important to, you know, kind of get rid of the gray areas sometimes,
Hmm.
and know when you're going to be doing certain things, because it allows you, it allows you to have more focus on those things, because there's no, you don't get overwhelmed by opportunities. You
Yeah.
don't get overwhelmed by everything that you want to be doing if you know what you're going to be doing. I always know the first thing I do when I go to work or I sit down at my desk is I'm going to listen to music, and
Yep.
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And then you kind of do get hype on the routine. Like, this is your part of the day and you're like, cool, I know I'm going to be doing this for an hour. Let's make the best of it and let's enjoy it. Or
yeah,
whatever, however
exactly.
much time. Tell me specifically. So, how did you? I guess I'm still curious. Like, how did you go from being like, all right, I'm going to do the music thing to then playing for Chelsea? Did you play for other artists? Did you have your own project? How did that connect?
It was really, it was luck. It was an opportunity met my preparedness. I've always been playing in Brooklyn bands, local bands, rock bands, psych rock bands, wherever I could play drums. I was always just trying to play drums. When I met Chelsea for the first time, I was working at a different full-time job at this company called Fuga, and they're a distributor. So I was doing playlist pitching, and I was pitching all like the music for North and South America to the DSPs. And at night, I was playing bands. I was business guy by day, trying to start my own business, like secretly without my coworkers seeing me, like doing my management stuff. And at night, I was kind of like living that like Brooklyn, rock star kind of vibe thing. And um, Chelsea's management hired my business partner Theo as an intern, and her drummer, Chelsea's drummer, couldn't like fill in on a couple of dates. He had to play with a different group, and Theo was like, "Oh, my business partner Gavin, he plays drums. Maybe he'd be interested." So they hit me up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm down. Like, I want to play. I want to play shows." And this was when Chelsea was first starting to get some attention, and so we played some small festivals. I took a week off vacation from work. I didn't really tell them what I was doing,
Yes.
where I was vacationing, and I went on a mini tour, and it was one of the greatest experiences. And I didn't think it was ever going to happen again. I was like, wow, that was great. Like, I hope I can do more stuff like that one day.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'll be able to like think about this drumming thing for real one day. Like, that was cool. Then they hit me up a month later with the same kind of thing, like 1 week. Her other drummer can't make it, and I did it again. And me and Chelsea started like clicking. We started becoming friends. Started texting, and then literally 2 days before she was leaving for her first sold out tour, I get a call from her management being like, "Hey, her other drummer can't make the tour. Like, can you leave in 2 days? Like, you're the only other person who knows the music, and you actually know more music than the current drummer because you made some of the drum parts to your new stuff." And I was like, "Oh my God, like, can you give me an hour?" I'm like literally leaving my office, like, and I had like a panic attack. I was like in the fetal position. I was like, this is like my dream. Like, I get to like be a rock star. Like, I get to go on a sold out tour, but I have this job and I have financial security, and like, I don't know what's going to happen after these 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And I called all my friends. I called my parents. I called my lawyer, and just to like kind of get like see what I should do. And I didn't, I sent it. It was one of those
Let's
moments in my
go.
life where
Let's
I was just
go.
like, this is something that I've always wanted to do, and I will regret it if I don't make this decision. I called out sick from work the next day, but like actually I felt sick because I was just like my whole life was
You had
changed.
so much stress and anxiety making the decision, you actually made yourself sick. It was a
I
valid
was sick, and
excuse.
I was so sick, and I had to figure out like what to tell my boss because like I loved my job there too. I was working with awesome artists, and I felt so disrespectful being like, "Hey, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, I can't even give you my 2 weeks right now. Like,
God,
I'm literally
yeah.
leaving for tour like tomorrow." But it was something. It was I had to do it.
What
I
was that
and
conversation? Did they understand or were they pissed?
so my boss happened to be on vacation at the time, so I was luckily enough able to leave a voicemail with everything I wanted to say, and
Wow.
then she called me back, and they understood, and they knew, I was really into being a musician. My boss, like 2 weeks before, had like a conversation with me asking like how committed I was to the team because on social media I'm like posting like I'm up to like 2, 3 a.m. Like playing with bands, like having this dual life. And they're
Yes,
like, what?
dude.
And so I was like, yeah, I'm committed to this company, but in my mind, I'm like, if a situation comes up where I don't have to do this, I want to like be an artist. And it was definitely, it was a really, really amazing and challenging time, as amazing as it was, a time in my life.
Dude, I love that you took that opportunity. Like that moment, I feel it. And that's so scary. Like to have a job that you like and have that stability and yeah, like it's stability and it's something you love, but then it's like your dream right there. And you're like, it's only 5 weeks though. You don't know what happens after that. And you of all people know what it's like to like be grinding and figuring it out. So you're like, I finally have this job that I like. Am I really about to fuck this all up for 5 weeks? Yes, I have to.
Yeah, yeah, and I was comfortable with the idea of like, all right, 5 weeks is over. Like, I've been a waiter before. I've been a food delivery guy. I will figure it out. I will continue paying my rent, and I will get another job. I'll figure it out somewhere or another. I've never, what do I want to say? I think, it comes down to being really stubborn for one, and also, having the courage. I think courage is something I really value and something I always, when people hit me up on Instagram and people are like, I want to be a music artist, I'm scared. Like, I want to do this, I'm scared. I'm like, you need to have courage. Courage is more important than confidence,
Hmm.
because courage is willing to go forward even if you're guaranteed to fail. It's doing it anyway. It's doing it no matter what happens. It's because it's just, you know you just have to do it, and you're going to learn no matter what. It's these small acts of courage, or sometimes taking a leap of faith like I did, that are going to build your confidence. But at the end of the day, I still feel like I don't have a lot of confidence, but I do have courage. I will do do things despite, whether I think it's going to go well
Fuck, that was good.
or not.
That was amazing. That's like, I've never heard anybody quite put it like that, but that distinction is so real because there's those times where you're like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know if I'm confident in this, but courage, it pushes you past that. And you're just like, okay, like I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That's
Dude, no one
awesome.
knows. No one knows, man. Like, people pretend really well that they know what's up, or they know why things happen. And yeah, there are some ways to measure things, but I don't know. It's you just gotta do what, sometimes you gotta listen to yourself, you gotta listen to your heart, you gotta take the time to listen to your body and your mind, and you just gotta go with what feels right.
Dude, I really, really, really like that. So it paid off. Was that like when she was releasing How to Be Human?
This was before How to Be Human. This was still like in the middle of mixtape 1 and 2. I was
Oh,
sleeping with Rose.
crazy. So that's like that's really her first level of like I mean, you said it was her first round of sold out shows.
Yeah, it was just me and her, and it was just drummer, me playing drums, and her singing. She had a guitar and like a beat pad, and then literally, like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen after those 5 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, she's like, "We're going to Europe. We're already planning another tour 4 months from now." And and I look at the calendar, I look at the dates, I'm like, "That's exactly 100 days from now." Like,
You over here
I
counting
have 100
days?
days to kind of figure some other shit out, like work on my company, and then I'm going back on tour, and
Dude.
just kept on going.
Wow. So what did you do in that 100 days? What happened next?
So I got kind of like my own fan base from Torn of Chelsea, that her fans kind of started gravitating towards me because I play with a lot of emotion. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not the best drummer in the world at all,
Mm.
but I play with my heart,
Yeah.
and I give the audience my 100%, and they feel that. And so they're like, wow, like your energy on stage is crazy. Like, you make me feel so happy, so good. And so I was like, cool, I want to kind of capitalize on like my own fan base and
Yeah.
see like how I can maybe generate my own business with these fans, and see what I can do. How can I help these people? And so I started figuring out ways. I made a website. I started a newsletter where I was like writing. It's called the Weekly Chop. I still do it all the time. I've
Cool.
been less frequent recently just because I've been really busy.
How do I
I'm trying
find
to get.
it?
You can go to my website, gavinchops.me, and go Weekly Chop, and you
Okay,
could
tight.
subscribe. And I kind of just write down my thoughts. They could be motivating things or techniques, or a cool video or some book recommendations. Just a slew of different things that are on my mind at the time. I also post my 5 favorite songs of the week, and a motivational quote. It's really short, bite size, but my fans really gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
I'm very active responding to people on Instagram, or if they email me. I've created like really solid relationships with a lot of these fans.
Yeah.
Um, I sent out free stickers with letters to all these people, and at the same time, focusing on my management company, building the business further.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a side hustle for me and my 4 partners, and now we all are full time. We have an office, and it's really amazing. And like, I'm absolutely in love with my teammates, the greatest guys, and they are way smarter than me, and
Well,
I
okay,
could
wait.
not do it
Because
without
I
them.
want to like really talk about that. So tell me, because we kind of got too excited and sidebarred. So 100 days, you had to figure something out. Then you're back on tour, and that probably. Well, tell me. So what did you do in that 100 days?
I worked on the Gavin Chops
Yep.
business. I worked on Bear and Owl,
Yep.
and I tried to work on as many things for like my inner self. I do a lot of inner work, a lot of internal stuff. To I think if really believe in the thing. It's like if you work on yourself, there's you're changing the world. You're going to be able to affect other people. Be a beacon for other people and create a ripple effect that makes them be a beacon for other people. I want to be able to spread positive energy. So I'm always questioning myself, looking inwards, and so I do a lot of like inner work.
Damn, sick. I respect all that too. Like, I feel like maybe I'm not acknowledging this all, but like I'm like over here smiling and nodding because I'm like, yeah, I fuck with this. I feel you. I feel you. But the floor is yours right now. I just wanted to hear that. So, okay, 100 days. You then go back out, you go to Europe. And then since then, you've stayed touring with her, right?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like we really could talk about that. But that moment that you said, I feel like says it all. And before this podcast ends, I want to hear specifically about the management company. I didn't realize it's like at the level, like you have an office, like you're doing the thing.
Yeah, the management company I started with my partner Theo like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's a lot younger than me. He's 23.
Wow.
I met him because I went to DJ at Drexel University. I got some gig opening for one of my other friends, Whitecliff, who's an awesome artist, and we got hired to DJ this party at Drexel. And there was this act in between. I was opening, and then there was an act in between called Royalty, and then Whitecliffs. And the manager for Royalty was this little 18-year-old college kid, Theo, and I started talking with one of the guys. It was a duo. This duo was Royalty. I started talking with one of the guys who ended up being an artist named Hazy Eyes, and we started talking on Facebook. And he was like, "You got to talk to my manager Theo, and I would love to work with both of you." And so Theo started taking the train in from Philly to New York, and we used to meet up at a cafe and just kind of shoot the shit. And we had very similar values. We had very similar goals, and we kind of joined. I was working with 3 clients at the time, and so was he. We joined our clients together, and one day I was like, "What's your favorite animal?" He was like, "It's an owl," and I was like, "Mine's a bear." I sent him a logo a week later. I was like, "We're Bear and Owl. This is our management company."
Let's go.
And then he brought in Sky, who he was working. He was working as one of our partners on the side. He worked at A2IM, and then he was working for United Masters before coming full time with us. He was the head of business partnerships at United Masters, and then Sky brought in Jet, who was working. He was the head of trade marketing at Believe Digital, and everyone it was kind of like a secret project up until really like 2020, believe it or not, this
Wow.
year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I got that
Um,
exclusive. I got that fresh company interview.
yeah.
Let's
So we were all
go.
doing it on the side. Like I was hustling. Theo was building this with me while he was going through college, and then Sky and Jet were working secretly as secret partners on the side while doing their normal day jobs. And we were acting as the label for our management clients. Like I said, running everything through Believe Digital. And we got our roster to a point where we had over 250 million streams across the board. And we're like we were like, let's start a label. And so we built like a business model and a deck and we showed like our growth and what we've done already. And it was really attractive to a lot of distributors, and really grateful for the Orchard, who's come on as our funding partner. They gave us a big financial injection. We signed a deal literally 2 weeks into quarantine, like right after I was on tour. Tour got cut by coronavirus, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like there goes my income. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like we signed this deal with the Orchard to start Pack Records, And now we have like, we all have salaries and, healthcare, and it, we have an office, and we're able to now work with really awesome artists, across all genres, and, give them that
Wow.
same attention we've been giving our management clients, and work with just like really cool projects. And, we really launched Pack Records in May. It's really new. It's brand new. And we've had some like really great successes like right off the start with, some of our management clients, Will Hyde, who's from Australia, Yukio from Australia. And then my first signing was this artist named Godford, who's like kind of like indie electronic. We call it indie rave music.
Hmm.
And the project is getting, major acclaim. The YouTube video for the music video has over like 500,000 views. Like, and it's really exciting. And
Yeah,
it's,
like you feel it. It's really starting to go.
yeah, yeah, it's really
Dude,
exciting.
that's so cool. Like I didn't realize that this was all so fresh, right? Because I didn't know. Like we just like we became friends on Instagram and I was like, this all looks great. Like I didn't think like anything past that. So that's so exciting to hear that it really
So
all
fresh.
started clicking. And that's
Yeah.
also cool. I think I don't know. There's something to be said about not everybody just gets a label deal with the Orchard. I think they had to have seen something in you guys. And just in you telling me your story, when I look at Pack Records, even though it's new, it looks so well put together and so intentional. And that's really interesting. Like, I don't think that that happens without those past experiences. And what a cool success story to hear you be like, yeah, like we're doing this with the Orchard now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Like like me and my team, we share like very strong values about music. We love music. We would be doing this for free. And like we've had our fair share of ups and downs, and we still do. And this is an extremely entrepreneurial venture that we're on together in a journey. And but we all support each other. We've all are extremely transparent with each other. We run this business on trust and transparency, and without that, this it would be nothing. And I'm so grateful for my business partners because I would be nothing without them. They have been such an impact on my life in the past 4 years, and being on this journey with them, and working with artists that we're all passionate about, and having these big success moments, and then these moments that don't work. And it is such a it is something, I'll have in my heart. I'll have something so special for these guys in my heart, like forever.
Yeah, dude, that's also, I feel like what I hear there is just aligning with the right people. Like when you have the right people and you're doing what you love together, that is magic. And it definitely feels like you found that with all of them.
Yeah, man. They're very, very, very special people to me.
Damn. Well, I really feel like I we're here, like we're at just about our hour mark. And it was one of those ones where I didn't fully know what we were getting into, and I knew there would be a lot to talk about. And I'm almost like, damn, we could have had a whole episode on just your stories with Chelsea Cutler. We could have had a whole episode on Pack Records. We could have done Baron Al. So I feel like we did an all right job covering a lot of topics. But did I miss anything like super crucial here?
I don't know, man. We kind of touched upon a little bit of everything, and that's kind of the problem with my life is that I do so many things. It's kind of,
Right?
it's hard to kind of like get it all out in like an hour because, like, I guess I've lived like a lot of different lives and have a lot of different chapters of my life. And but I feel really good about everything we've talked about, and I hope it, your listeners, like, I hope it helps them or inspires them.
Likewise. And I was thinking too, like maybe if we have like listener feedback on this, or maybe if we could always come back and talk about one very specific topic, right?
Like,
I'd love to have you back and I'd love to continue a conversation like that. But I feel like we did a pretty good job, at least for me, really not having known you now, hearing all this. I'm like, all right, I fuck with you. This is cool. This is inspiring. So I hope
man.
other people feel something similar. So let's do that. Let's leave it there. And if there's a specific topic that we should come back and talk about, let us know. DM both of us, leave it in a comment anywhere. I'm always checking. It sounds like you're always checking. And if we have something to come back and specifically talk about, we can.
Yeah, that sounds really great, man. This has been really awesome. I feel electric right now.
I love it, dude. Same way. Like It's always hard for me because I try not to be like full on like cheesy campy guy that's like take risks, follow your dreams, do these like all of those things can start to sound cheesy, but when it's coming from people who have really done it and proved it and have real life stories about that, I think it carries more weight. So like your moment of having to walk away from that job and like your structure and it leading to success, it's like, okay, cool. That's more than just an inspirational quote now because there's a story backing it and I fuck with that.
It's real. Like it's real. I don't give a shit about cliches because they're cliches because they're just said so many times that no one really cares about them anymore because it's like do the work and things will happen. But like it's true. I don't know. Like some cliches are really true and like ignore the fact that they're not novelty statements. There's like every moment in life is novel, even the ones that you've heard, everything you ever heard, is novel.
This
So
fucking guy, I like you. This is great. Where can everybody find you? I know we talked about it a lot, but like, what are some specific handles? How do people get in touch with you? How do people let you know what other topics they want to hear about? Or how do they even just like shoot you a DM and ask you a question?
I'm on Instagram, that's my major platform that I'm on most of the time at Gavin Chops. I'm starting to use Twitter a little bit. It's Gavin_Chops. And then I have a newsletter that you can link to from
Yep.
my Instagram. And so I get in touch with people that way as well.
Cool. And I'll make sure to include all that in the show description too. And then if
Cool.
people want to see Pack Records and Bear Now, what's that? What's the best way to find those?
Instagram at PackRex, and the management company Baron is at Baron with an underscore at the end. You
Dope.
can see all the cool stuff that we're doing. Everything's really cohesive. We're really trying to create worlds around our artists.
Yeah, that's something like we could have gotten really specific on that because
No,
like that really stood out to me was like the branding and how like you would take an artist and really lean into making a proper digital campaign. Like it really felt like you had intentional promotion for all of the singles and all the music that was coming out. So maybe that would be a fun thing to talk about more later too.
gotta do a part two on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hell yeah. Well, dude, thank you for your time on this. Like it really is so special to me that like we can just be internet friends and be like, "Hey, want to talk about business and music and life and have conversations like this." So, thank you for that.
Hell yeah, man. I'm so grateful as well. So thank you for having me and reaching out.
It was a true pleasure.